On Monday, a large number of protesters took to the streets in cities across South Africa, demanding the resignation of President Cyril Ramaphosa due to the inadequate provision of jobs and electricity. Security forces were deployed to prevent any incidents of violence or looting, with malls and streets being closely guarded. EFF, the third largest political party in South Africa, called for this march and national shutdown. The party, in a post-march statement, said the protests exposed the governing ANC, the electricity company Eskom, and the police service. Let's chat a bit more about this. My name is Kemini Amano, and joining our gathering are Godrich Gardee. He's a South African politician and former EFF Secretary General. He's joining us from Mpumalanga in South Africa. We also have Zama Ntshona. He's spokesperson for the African Transformation Movement in South Africa. Gentlemen, you're welcome to the square. I want to start with you. So absolutely. I want to start with you, Zama. I've gone through the statement you released on Human Rights Day being today, and you touched briefly on the protest and how successful it was. Talk to us about the post-mortem process you have gone through since yesterday.
Thank you so much. Good day to you and the viewers. As the African Transformation Movement, we believe that the protest yesterday was successful, sent the right message, and resonated with the majority of South Africans, because we can't run away from the fact that the issue of electricity, the electricity crisis, the inability of this country to generate its own electricity so as to be able also to deal with the what is the requirements or what is needed by the economy of this country for the people of this country is a challenge that is a challenge to us all. Issues around crime, the murder rate are issues that are very serious. Unemployment, that is one of the highest in the world. These are serious issues that need that the people of this country come together. The unity that was displayed by the different political movements, coming together, realizing that not unless we are a united front, we will never be able to deal with the challenges of this country. Looking back at what actually took place, the build up to where we were and where we are right now, it says the people of this country, especially the young generation, is serious about carving and actually putting together a future that they know they are surely going to be part of. So as the African Transformation Movement, we are happy we took part in the EFF initiated national shutdown and a peaceful march.
Let's go to the former Secretary General for the EFF, Godrich, who's joining us via telephone. One of the things that appear to overshadow the march that took place yesterday is, you know, the debate around the numbers. For you, as a part of the organizers, is that conversation even necessary? And while you touch on that, also talk to us about your own impressions about the numbers.
Thank you very much, my sister, to our colleague from ATM and our viewers up there in Africa. We are interested in the issue of the services that were up to people did come in very good numbers. Remember, we had this kind of throughout the 9 provinces and more than 20 cities and towns in South Africa. Combined together, those numbers are quite so big, except for the one, if we only speak about the one that maybe you could have into one in Pretoria, which was well attended. It should be also be taken note of that the government in the middle of the night on Sunday called the bus service providers and intimidated them not to carry the protesters into the protest gathering point. But within those constraints, our people transported themselves to the assembly point and marched for over 20 kilometers to the presidential house, Masambandovo, of President Ramaphosa to demand his immediate resignation.
Mm-hmm. I see. I want us to talk also about, the resources that went into this. The police reportedly spent millions of rands on providing the kind of escorts that they did during the process. And there are those who have argued that it was quite an overkill, the number of boots that were put on ground, the number of police officers that were put on ground, and juxtaposing that to the fact that the EFF has said the march exposed the ANC, it exposed the ESCOM, and it also exposed the police service. Explain to us exactly what you mean.
As a matter of fact, there has never been history of a violent protest in South Africa by any political party, and in particular the economic freedom fighters. For all the 10 years we have been in existence, we have led marches of more than 50,000 at a go in different cities in the same day or on different days. There has never been any looting, no vandalism, no violence, no arrest, nothing. It has never happened before. Only yesterday they did that just because they are protecting Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa. For no apparent reason, almost 200 million rand has been spent on the mobilization of state security forces with the hope that we will fall trap to the provocation and then there will be altercations and then there will be violence. And they were very much disappointed that there was never a violence, because we have never been a violent organization. People of South Africa have never been violent. There has never been a protest that has ended up in violence in South Africa. Not even the July 2021 looting, which was never organized by any political party. And it was only an unled revolution, which is a natural consequence of an unled revolution. Our people were properly led by different political parties yesterday, the trade unions and the EFF. It was a led revolution. Hence, there was no violence, no vandalism, no looting, no stealing, nothing criminal that happened yesterday in all the major cities of South Africa.
I'm going to come back to you on that, but let me go to Zama now. Zama, were the measures taken by security services in South Africa for the protest an overkill?
Almost definitely, they were. You would remember that on daily basis, as the citizens of the Republic of South Africa, we are always saying that the almost 80 bodies or 80 individuals who are killed on daily basis. We want to see the ratio of police to the citizens go up. And this is our constant cry, this is our daily cry, but we are not, there is no response, a conducive response from the government of the day. And we are saying it is as if South Africa is a war zone, and therefore we need intervention so that there can be a creation of a conducive environment wherein the people of this country are safe. And if you are not able to provide safety as a government, why are you in government? Remember that the government of the day has actually taken an oath that they would protect South Africans from enemies from within and enemies from the outside. When they are not even able to police and deal with the challenges within, then which means that they are failing dismally. Now, coming to the issue raised. Now, if they can't provide that on daily basis, why would they go to these lengths for a peaceful protest? This is why, as the African Transformation Movement, we truly believe that it was totally unnecessary, uncalled for, that the government went to lengths of this nature just to take a petition, just to take a memorandum of demands. A government shouldn't have gone that.
Well,
be serious as a country. That is required on daily basis, not just on one day.
Let's come to the message. Do you think that the message was clear yesterday? Do you think that the South African people, the South African government most especially, got the message that the people were sending yesterday?
Almost definitely, in two accounts. One, for the very first time, I don't know in how many months, we experienced close to no load shedding. Now, you ask yourself, if South Africa was supposed to be in a permanent state of load shedding for at least 2 years, why is it that the whole weekend there was no load shedding? It is because the message was loud and clear. It is because they knew that if they subject the country onto load shedding, more and more people would have gone out. So to try as an antidote and trying to deter people from participating, they now give an impression that they have this under control and therefore South Africans must not go out. And guess what? Immediately after the match, this message started coming. Load shedding is going to be back. We have a strain on the electricity grid. The second issue, on the issue of safety and security, the reason that you see that the message was clear. You see that the way they responded, they knew exactly that the people are not happy, the people are not are angry. They knew that they could possibly. They knew that because when
Well, I think we lost Zama's connection for a bit, so I'll move on to Godrich now, who is over the telephone. Godrich, despite what you have said, that there were no...
go around, they hear that the people are not happy. So on those two fronts, the message was shaken to the core.
Very well. Zama, we lost you for a bit, but thank you for coming back on. Godrich, I come back to you now. Despite what you've said, that there were no incidences that required the numbers that we saw with security services. Over 500 people have now been arrested. The arrest began on Sunday up into Monday. What readings have you made into these huge number of arrests that have been made?
They are as a result of provocation by the police and the state security services. They were agent provocateurs that were planted into the marches of our people in South Africa. They are a consequence of overzealousness of the state security forces, typical of dictatorships found throughout the world when there is dissident voice against the sitting government. The ANC has turned itself to be no different from all other liberation movements in Africa who have turned against their own people. They are so maverick to the extent that they will do anything by hook or crook to just put a black spot on a peaceful march that is happening in South Africa. We are looking at the numbers. We will have our own audit. We will check to which extent are these 500 people members of any of the political parties and the participants in the march. But the preliminary investigation shows that they were provoked by the police, who just wanted to justify the 200 million rand that has been spent on putting the boots on the ground.
I see. Will the EFF be taking action in response to these arrests?
Oh, definitely, we will be taking an action against the police and the police commissioner of KwaZulu-Natal, who has actually made remarks that they are combat ready. They are no longer a police service, but they are a police combat, which is unheard of in our constitution in South Africa. We are a constitutional democracy. Police are a service to the people. They are not a force in the country. They are a service to the country, and that those remarks, we deem them unlawful and unconstitutional. You have to retract them, apologize, and there should be consequences and heads will roll.
Well, Zama, so in your statement, in the ATM statement to support, this protest, you asked your followers, your supporters, the South African people to intensify the call on the ANC, on Cyril Ramaphosa to resign and for a better South Africa. What exactly is this call about? What is the next step? What are you looking for?
Listen to President Zungula addressing the masses yesterday. One of the issues that he said, that he revealed to the people, was that we have used Section 89 to actually drive an impeachment process for the gross violations of the executive members' ethics act and the various laws. And the president is protected. We've used Section 96 of the Executive Members Ethics Act, directing to the public protector, and the president is protected. We have written to IPID, we have written to SARS, we've written to the Reserve Bank. We have even come with a report from a highly credible independent panel with a former Chief Justice, a senior judge, and a senior counsel that said on the basis of law, there is prima facie evidence that the president has violated much. In 2020, we gave 15 solid performance-based reasons why the president is unworthy of the throne, but he is protected. Now, it is up to the people of this country, the people of South Africa, to actually stand their ground. They must stand up and be counted. They must make their voices very clear. We can't have an unworthy president the direction of this country is not clear under his reign. The only thing you see is retrogression instead of progression. It is on those grounds that we say the people of this country must heed the call and actually not only take it up through protest marches, but they must protest all the way to the ballot paper. They must protest with their ballots by voting differently. They must make sure that this current government, who for almost 30 years has actually run this country to the ground, never sees the time of day. When the president made that call, he was very clear that the people of this country, they are the only saviors that we have that can actually save this country.
Let's start to wrap it up on the march yesterday. And Godrich, I'll give you the last word on this one. Same question, but while you're at it, we also have news indicating that the EFF leader in Namibia was arrested. And I'd like to take a quick comment on that. He was arrested at a protest on their Independence Day. Go ahead, Godrich. Let's hear you.
Typical of a former liberation movement that gained independence and fought for the independence of the people. The same applies to all other countries, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Zambia, and everywhere. The former liberation dynasties are threatened by the emergence of the new and the young blood in the political arena. Our people did economic freedom in their lifetime. We are fine and happy it's done. We cannot be living in the past on the credentials of the liberation fathers and grandfathers of our nation.
Very well.
It's high time that everywhere in Africa we remove the sitting governments that have been there for as long as 1960, 1970, 1980, and 1990. They have not brought anything tangible to change the life of our people. We call on all people in Africa to stand up against corrupt leaders, old-age leaders who have got no interest to take the country and the continent forward.
Indeed. Godrich, we'll say goodbye to you here. Thank you so much for your company. But Zama, stay with me. I want us to talk about Human Rights Day a bit, based on the statement you released. And for our international viewers who may not understand what Human Rights Day is in South Africa, it's celebrated on March 21st every year to commemorate the Sharpeville massacre, which took place on the same day in 1960. Now, this massacre was a tragic event in which police opened fire on a peaceful protest against the past laws, which required Black South Africans to carry identification documents at all times. Now, the protest resulted in the deaths of 69 people and sparked international condemnation and calls for the end of apartheid in South Africa. So, Zama, I think one of the things that you said in your statement is the fact that South Africa has come a long way since then with your 1996 constitution, but also there's been a lot of retrogression in the very recent history of the country. Talk to us a bit more about that.
Thank you so much. Well, it is true that the South African society has come a long way. The visionaries, the architect of the democracy which we now have in South Africa had actually thought of South Africa as an institute or a state and under a government that would actually deal with all, pluck out all human rights violations. And yes, we started with a constitution that was enabling. It is a constitution that when you read it, it says regardless of race, regardless of sex, regardless of creed or belief system, you must find yourself equally included in the country. But you see all the activities of the country. But you have recently seen activities, human rights violations, that you see that they are not consistent with the spirit of the drafters of the Constitution or the Constitution itself. We name in our statement, one of those issues are the Marikana massacre, where when people say just for a living wage, we want to see our lives getting better. It can't be that we go to the depths of the earth and dig out precious metals, but that phenomenon does not have material changes in our whole being. Just for standing for that right, they found themselves mowed down by the police. You have had life estimony. It is one of the tragic occurrences that have happened post-1996. You still have pit latrines in South Africa. And these are some of the things, though we have gone a long way to giving one man, one vote, a constitution that embodies or that is able to embrace all South Africans, but we still have the prevalence of things that need to be plucked out in our society as they continue to perpetuate human violations, human rights violations.
Zama, I have to let you go, but before then, I want you to tell us, what's the single most important thing you expect all South Africans to reflect on today as you mark Human Rights Day?
South Africans, today it is going to be important for us as a country to remember that it is not yet Uhuru. We have not yet arrived where we had set out to be. When you look at the challenges that are still facing the Republic of South Africa and the limitations in terms of full expression as far as the inherent rights of human beings, the country is not there. And also, South Africans must never lose their dying spirit. Never surrender your freedom to anybody else.
Indeed.
The time has come for us to club together, unified, and take the fight to the next level.
Absolutely.
Generations must benefit because of our stand.
Zama, I appreciate your time and your insight on the subject matters for today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.